Another time.
I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Cumberland Fire District to order, Tuesday, March 27th, 7 o'clock. Can we have a roll call, please? Commissioner Archambault? Here. Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Santoro?
Here.
Commissioner Hogan?
Here.
Commissioner Champagne?
Here.
Commissioner Scullin?
Here.
And I am here also. I would like to take this opportunity to request that in our moment of silence, I would like to acknowledge the firefighters who perished in the line of duty last week. Firefighter Michael Davidson of the Fire Department of New York, firefighter Ivan Flansha, and Zachary Anthony of the York, Pennsylvania Fire Department. If we could stand, please, for a moment of silence. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. General announcements.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Scullin.
I do have one. I was informed by one of my constituents yesterday that on our website, we do not have our 2018 meeting packets. We go to 2017, then we stop.
Okay, so that needs to get taken care of.
We are in the process of trying to take care of that. We have hit a technological glitch. We are trying to address it. It is just there's something in the programming that is not allowing the contractor to get that tab up, but we have addressed it. We're trying to either come up with an alternative or find out exactly what the bug is in there that's stopping us from the additional tab.
Okay.
We are aware of it.
Thank you. Any other general announcements?
Madam Chair, I have a couple.
Chief.
We had 5 members that participated in the American Lung Association stair climb this weekend in Providence.
Very good.
Fall River has much taller buildings, evidently, and they can practice a lot more because they pretty much kept us out of contention. But our quickest guy made the 22 flights in 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And we had 4 people in the 2 to 3 minute bracket, and one guy 35, 40 seconds behind that. So, but we did have 5 participants, but this year we didn't place any in NA trophy ranges as we did last year.
So we didn't even get in second place?
No. The second place guy last year is out right now and couldn't participate, but it's still all money for a good cause, and they were happy to participate.
And we appreciate the fact that they did, even if they didn't. It's all about the competition.
Yep. Late this afternoon, Joanne Newton from Pomeroy Poirier apologizes. It's a very busy time in accounting firms, and she wasn't able to come to the meeting this evening. She did email me the actuarial study that they use for the OPEB, the other post-employment benefits. I created one. It didn't come out as good as I thought it was going to come out, so I just stopped at the one. But I emailed it to all of the commissioners for their review. And if you have any other questions or you want to see it in paper, I'll put together another one in paper. I did make one for Mr. Scullin. He was the proponent of this, so I just started with the one. It was late this afternoon when I did receive that. At last month's meeting, there was some discussion by a resident on different topics concerning the fire committee, and one of the topics was Station 2. A little over 17 months ago, I had commissioned all of the captains to give me a list of the deficiencies in their station that would need capital improvements. Some of the stations we were able to handle in a short period of time through the regular budgeting process. Station 2, on the other hand, had quite a few more needs. And what I've prepared is the document that was sent to me. There's actually 2 pages. It was sent to me by the captain of Station 2 for dispersal tonight, so that you know that I'm not just creating, I want a new station idea. The station has issues. They're addressed in here. Over the last 16 months, we've had engineers, we've had builders, we've had architects, we've had bond counsel. We've spent time vetting this process diligently and correctly. And I just take a little umbrage with the fact that it isn't something that we just arbitrarily thought of off the top of our heads that we wanted a new place at Station 2. So I will send this through for you to review in the next month or so.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any other general announcements?
Yes, there are.
Yeah, budget hearing dates. Okay. Ron, do you want to take care of that, or shall I? You can take care of it. All right, thank you. All right, we must have 3 hearing dates for our budget, so the dates are as follows. May 22nd is the first public hearing for our budget. May 24th is the second public hearing and the first vote. And May 29th will be our second vote on the budget. Okay. Approval of minutes from 127 and 227 and 3/8 meetings. Is there a motion on the table?
Madam Chair, are you taking all these minutes in one package?
If someone was absent, you can take them separately. Maybe you should take them separately.
Okay, we'll take them separately. All right. Approval of the minutes from 127:18. Is there a motion on the table?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Ashenbalt. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Santoro. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes from 127:18, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain.
You're abstaining. Passes 6-0 and 1 abstain. 2 abstain. Passes 5-0, 2 abstain. Minutes from 227:18. Is there a motion on the table?
Motion to accept.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Santoro. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Champagne. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Scullin.
I have a correction on page 2, line 63, where it gives a total on a motion to table. It gives a 4-3 vote, it should be 4-2 vote.
Okay. So we need to correct that. Page 2, line 63, fails 4-2. Under discussion of the potential bond referendum. So is there a motion to accept the amended meeting minutes? Motion by Commissioner Champagne. Second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Scullin. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of accepting the 227 meetings notes as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed.
Abstain.
So it passes 6-1, well, 6-0 and 1
6-0.
abstain. Okay, passes 6-0, 1 abstain. Meeting notes from 3/8. Is there a motion on the table? Motion to approve meeting 3/8 by Commissioner Champagne. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Archibald seconds. Is there a discussion? Hearing none, let's go to vote. All in favor of accepting meeting notes from March 8th, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstaining? Yes. So Commissioner Hogan is abstaining, so it passes 6-0 with one abstaining. You opposed? Okay. Passes 5-1 with one abstaining. So the official count is 5-1, one abstaining. All right, great. New business, finance reports.
Madam Chairwoman,
I'm fine.
Board of Commissioners, I still have my kind of introduction from the town of Smithfield still in my memory banks here.
That's all right.
The total income for the month of February was recorded at $734,000, and total expenses came in at $687,000 for a net ordinary income of $49,000. One of the reasons for that is that you had an insurance refund of $47,000 for turnout gear that was destroyed in a recent fire. But it just goes to show that containment of expenditures is being realized and utilized by the chief.
Thank you very much. All in favor of accepting the finance report from February, say aye. Do I have to make, I have to make a motion, I suppose. There's a motion to accept the finance report. Commissioner Jones made the motion. Commissioner Jones makes a motion to accept the finance report, seconded by Commissioner Champagne. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of accepting the finance report of February 2018, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Oh, passes 7-0. Chief's report, Chief.
As you can see with the accompanying pages, the month of February being a shorter month, we ended up with 346 response calls. During the month, as requested, I have also attached a couple other reports, one with the hours of service and one with a breakdown of time of service. We're in mid-stage review currently of the fiscal 19 budget. We have a tentative subcommittee meeting scheduled for early April. One of the, as the finance director reported, the equipment that was damaged at the Mill Street fire, which was just behind this building, December 28th. The insurance company for the building has been balking at paying for the equipment. VFIS stepped up to the plate and paid us for the damaged equipment so that we could get the guys' gear ordered. It's about a 6 to 8 week turnaround, and also they would subrogate the claim for us. The other issue that I have on the report is the SAFER grant, which is staffing for adequate fire and emergency response. It's a federal program similar to the equipment grants that we've received in the past. The problem with this grant is it's an unknown what the conditions are going to be. Where other grants you can determine that you're going to get probably 90% of the price you submit for. On the SAFER grants, what they do is they award the grant for the amount that you're requesting, and then they give you the conditions of the award with the response. Then at that point you have to choose if you're going to accept the award. So, two quick stories. City of Central Falls wrote a SAFER grant 2 years ago. They received an award for 4 personnel. They've hired 3 of the 4 personnel. Last year, the city of Woonsocket wrote a grant for 12 personnel in anticipation of injuries that were going to be retired and upcoming retirements. The condition of the Woonsocket award was they had to increase their minimum staffing from 108 to 120 and then maintain it for 1 year following the grant period. The city of Woonsocket refused the grant because they just could not afford over $1 million of funding in personnel the following year. So we have some time to invest, which is basically what we have for the initial stage. If we are successful, it'll come back to the board, we'll vet it with the board to determine if we want to move forward with the grant or not.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for the chief regarding the SAFER grant? Motion to accept the chief's report by Commissioner Santoro. I'm sorry, Commissioner Champagne. Commissioner Champagne. Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the chief's report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. All right, we've got a lot to talk about, so I would appreciate if we could kind of focus our comments at the matters at hand on these resolutions. That would be very helpful. All right, going to the first one. Resolution, this is from 2017, number 35, approving administrative employee benefits. I think that this has been a question, so it's nice to see this developed as a resolution, and we've come to agreement. Unless specifically, the resolution is approving administrative employee benefits, and the Cumberland Fire District intends to treat their employees fairly and with equal treatment with regard to vacation, holiday pay, and paid time off. Now therefore be it resolved that by the Cumberland Fire District as follows. Unless specifically provided otherwise by written contract, executive staff should be entitled to the following benefits: paid time off. I'm not going to read every single item, if that's okay, unless I have to.
No, you don't.
Okay. Paid time off for full-time administrative employees, paid time off for part-time administrative employees, designated holidays, health and dental benefits, bereavement, and maternity leave.
Madam Chair, just to remind, this has been outstanding for a bit of time. If Commissioner Santoro would like to report, the Personnel Subcommittee met on January 23rd and recommended passage of this on a 3-0 vote. So I don't know if the Commissioner wants to discuss that.
Sure. Commissioner Santoro.
Yes, we did.
Okay. You're awesome. Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion on the table? Motion to accept by Commissioner Santoro. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hogan. Any discussion? Commissioner Champagne.
The date has to be changed, then it's going to be from the bottom. Reporting being voted on the 28th day of November.
Yeah, that'll be changed when it's approved, yeah.
Okay,
All right.
and why is there a maternity leave, and it says reserved?
That was discussed, and we need to do more research to find out between maternity, paternity, FMLA leave, and we haven't had any. We're going to follow the current CBA in terms of maternity and paternity leave. That's where it stands. That's all.
Well, if you're going to state that you're going to follow what's in practice now, then it needs to be put in this resolution. Not reserved to be open-ended. It doesn't give the chief any guidance, nor does it give the employee any guidance.
Okay.
If you want to put in there that you're following the Fair Labor Standards Act, or you're following the CBA of the firefighters, that's fine, but to just leave it as reserved. Reserved is what? Reserving a chair at the hospital? I don't know what it means.
Okay.
So it needs to, I would suggest that the solicitor find some wording, proper wording to put in there, because I'm not going to vote for a resolution that's just leaving it wide open as to someone's interpretation.
May I?
Yes.
My memory of this is that the Personnel Subcommittee did not take any action on this. It does not, it doesn't relate to the collective bargaining agreement, but with it being reserved, I think the intent was this isn't really going to come up right now, and we would have to follow the Federal Medical Leave Act, the Family Medical Leave Act. So that would be the state of what the benefits would be, even with this resolution. Reserve just means we'll think about it in the future, but we would have to file the the Family Medical Leave Act.
Well, if that's the case, then delete line 32, take it out of there.
I mean,
I'm okay with
saying
that.
reserved is in lots and lots of bylaws and ordinances.
Yeah, but
It doesn't need,
It leaves it open.
you can take it out, I'm just telling you why
saying
it's there.
Ron, I'm okay with that.
I'm just speaking my piece, that I think that it just leaves it wide open to interpretation.
I think that's a mistake on the Personnel Subcommittee's part, and I apologize for that.
Any further discussion?
Make a motion to approve as amended.
There wasn't a motion to
There
amend.
wasn't a motion to amend.
Make a motion to amend, delete line 32.
Second.
Motion to amend line 32 by Commissioner Champagne, seconded by Commissioner Santoro. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, let's go to vote. All in favor of amending line 32 to read nothing? To delete line 32? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. All right. Motion to accept the amended resolution.
Motion.
Second.
Hold on. Sorry. Just taking the notes. Motion to accept the amended resolution by Commissioner Santoro, seconded by Commissioner Champagne. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of accepting the amended resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you. All right. That brings us up to Resolution 2008, number 5. And this resolution is amending the bylaws, Article 4, entitled Finance, to describe various employment positions. Whereas the Cumberland Fire Committee has determined that it should hire a part-time finance director and create a new position to handle the former finance director's responsibilities. In order to accomplish this, the Cumberland Fire Committee wishes to amend its bylaws to provide for the responsibilities for the finance and tax divisions of the Cumberland Fire District. Also, be it resolved that Article 4, entitled Finance, is hereby amended in certain sections as follows. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, and the highlighted areas to strike those. Section 4, Section 5, Section 6, turning it into Section 7, Section 8, Section 7 formerly, now Section 8. Is there a motion on the table to accept number 5, 2008 resolution?
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept by Commissioner Santoro. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hogan. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, this was before the Personnel Subcommittee. Should the chairman report out his findings?
That would be great. Commissioner Santoro.
Thank you. With a lot of help from the solicitor and the chief, this came out of meetings we had in dissecting the former finance director's position into two positions, 2.5 actually, and creating this new employment position, and by striking out some of the descriptions that you can see here, we've created a new finance person in the office who will be acting with the other staff as well. And in the next couple of lines, you'll see that we'll be hopefully approving what this person's job will be. The business manager will be reporting to the finance director, and will be more of a, not an office manager, but over helping with the taxes and the tax collections. And Chief, can you help me out a little bit with describing this position a little more generally?
The business manager is an everyday position, which will be the overall overseer of all the divisions in the administration area: tax collection, accounts payable, accounts receivable, fire prevention, revenues. That's what the business manager will be doing.
We found out that in speaking with Miss Carol Ocean when she left, that only 15 to 20 hours per month was being spent actually doing financial director work. So we were able to break down her previous salary into a part-time job and a full-time job, and this is one of the full-time jobs. We are lucky in the fact that she's has experience in, we'll get to her next, but this describes all of her duties, her obligations, and she'll be an at-will employee, and these are her job description. And I thank the solicitor and the chief again for the hard work getting this together. It's going to be Ms. Morris mentioned earlier on in the meeting that having all of the jobs that are being paid for by this committee codified in the bylaws and in resolutions is a good thing to have. I think that people have jobs that have job descriptions, whether it be in the chiefs, for the firefighters, or for the district, for us, having it written down what they should and shouldn't do, I think is a very positive thing for this board to have on record. And I reckon the board voted 3-0, and I recommend passage.
Thank you, Commissioner Santoro. Any further discussion?
Motion to pass.
Motion to pass. I think there was already a motion on the table, isn't there?
Yes? there
Yes.
is.
All right. All in favor of accepting this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Okay, thank you. All right. Number 6. Hiring Diane Caroloshan as a part-time finance director at an annual salary of $15,000. The Cumberland Fire Committee is in need of services for a permanent municipal finance professional. Diane Caroloshan is uniquely qualified to fill this position, as she has been the full-time finance director for the past 2 years, and she will be paid in 12 equal monthly installments as a part-time employee of the district. Be it resolved that by the Cumberland Fire District as follows. Section 1, the Cumberland Fire Committee hereby hires Diane Caroloshan as finance director at an annual salary of $15,000 for 20 to 30 hours per month. Is there a motion on the table?
Madam Chair, I just want to check something.
Sure.
Line 17, I just heard from Ms. Markey and Ms. Carolishan that it's easier administratively to pay her in 52 equal weekly installments. It's the same amount, but Beth, I don't know if do you agree with that? It's easier to pay her in weekly. It's gonna be the same amount, but they're just gonna break it up weekly rather than monthly, so that should say, will be paid in 52 equal weekly installments.
Is there a motion on the table to amend the resolution?
Motion. Motion to amend.
Motion to amend by Commissioner Archibald.
Second.
Commissioner Jones seconds. So that it will be read as Ms. Carolishan will be paid in 52 equal weekly installments, or just will be paid in weekly installments?
Equal weekly installments is fine.
Okay, 52, so change 12 to 52 equal and monthly to weekly. Okay, all in favor of accepting the the amendment on this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Passes 6-1. Now do we accept the resolution as amended?
Yes.
All right, is there a motion on the table to accept it? Motion by Commissioner Champagne. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor, any discussion? All in
Madam
favor?
Chair, again, this was before the Personnel Subcommittee. There's a recommendation, Mr. Chair, isn't there?
Yes. So
Commissioner
that-
Santoro.
Yes, so this came before the subcommittee. We had a lengthy discussion. I'll start, and then the chief can chime in a little bit also as well. The finance director position was originally posted before Mr. D. Finley came along, and nobody replied except the PhD in art. They're getting $100 grand a year for this job, plus, and we're not paying that. So we're lucky that he fell into our lap. He has 75 days a year to work, which is coming in quickly. We met, the chief and I, and we broadened the online sites to advertise. We added, I think, monster.com and every other site. Nobody applied. I mean, zero. No interest at all. Diane expressed an interest. I guess a couple of things changed. Some did for the better, some for the worse. And so she reached out and applied for the job. And the controversial part that comes along with it, want the good or the bad first. So we'll go with the good. The good is Diane's awesome. You know, she knows what she's doing. She comes with the experience. She can do it all. Love to have her back. But she cannot attend the meetings due to her personal commitments. She just is unable, which caused some consternation among the board, the personnel subcommittee. We did vote to approve it for the reason of bringing it to the full board of all 7 of us for discussion and for vote, and to get the opinion of all 7 members, which is why it's here, okay? So we'd like to hear the opinions of all the members of the board. We didn't come to a conclusion at the personnel subcommittee, one way or the other. So, Chief, do you want to add to that?
We got it covered.
Pretty much covered?
Yep.
Mr. Scullin, did I cover it pretty well?
You
Yeah.
voted 2-1.
Okay. So we voted
2-1.
2-1 to approve and for discussion. Right? To approve. So the personnel subcommittee did vote 2-1 to approve.
Okay.
And my personal feeling, as a member of the entire board, is that I can accept the fact that Diane has agreed. I spoke to her personally, and she will give us the reports a week in advance, and we can get her paper reports in the office. We can submit questions to her electronically or in paper, 5 days, 7 days, 6 days before. She'll respond to us 72 hours, and she'll give us answers 3 days before our meetings. If we're not satisfied, as Ms. Morris mentioned, we can come to the meeting with the camera rolling and say, I asked a question, she gave me an answer, I'm still not satisfied. You know, she's not here to answer the question, I'm still not happy with that answer. And express our frustration still, even though she's not here, which I think is fine, which gives her a chance to give 3 days to 5 days after the meeting to respond until we get satisfaction. So having her physically here, as Mr. Finley mentioned during the meeting, she's going to give us 20 to 30 hours. Mr. Finley is giving us 15 to 20 hours. Diane's going to give us up to 30 hours per month. Going into tax collection season, she's willing to put in even more hours for the same pay. But she just can't come at night once a month. Okay? I think this is a golden opportunity for her, with one slight caveat. Not having her here physically to pepper her with questions is not a big deal for me. If I can just email and she responds and I can read it, I'm just as happy. If she says something I don't like, email again. We have the meeting. Maybe the chief can enlighten me. Maybe you can, or Ms. Morris. If not, I express the meeting, and then after the meeting, she's back to us. I'm okay with that personally. I want to hear what the rest of the board, the 7 of us, I know Mr. Scullin feels. I want Mr. Scullin to express his feelings as well, and how we all feel, and then go forward, if that's okay with you, Madam Chair.
Sure. Mr. Scullin, you want to tell me how you're
Madam Chair.
feeling?
I did vote no in the subcommittee for the reason of, if she can't be at the meetings, it's the most vital job of the district. If the finance director is not going to report to the board on a monthly basis, it's not doing us any good. And I think we're paying well for that position. And for once a month, I don't see why they can't attend. If they can't attend the meeting, it's not a job for them. We don't need somebody working behind the scenes that we never even see, just talk to on email and then play to the camera that I didn't get a good answer. That's very embarrassing, quite frankly, to have to play to the camera to attack the finance director that's missing. So I don't even know why we would even get into that part of it, but.
Okay. Commissioner Champagne?
No, I made the motion.
All right. Commissioner Hogan? Commissioner Actonel? Commissioner Jones?
That's the motion.
Okay. So it sounds like mostly everybody's in favor of it.
I guess so, yeah. It sounds that way.
Very good. All right, let's go to a vote. Any other further discussion?
Is there a second?
There was a second. Commissioner Champagne made the motion and Commissioner Jones seconded. I understand your concerns, but I think, if we have questions, we can certainly get a quick turnaround with Diane. I know, I understand. Okay. Hearing none, any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of the amended resolution number 06, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Passes 6-1. Thank you. Number 7.
Great job, never show up. What's wrong with that?
Not bad. Hiring Donna Burbank as Hiring Donna Burbank as the tax office supervisor at an annual salary of $39,130. We know that we are in need of a tax office supervisor. We know that the position was posted in the Valley Breeze. There were interview committees of Commissioner Santoro, Mrs. Carol-Ocean, and Mr. Finley. The interview committee recommends Ms. Burbank for the position. She will work 35 hours a week and will be provided benefits in accordance with the Cumberland Fire District resolution that we just passed.
Yeah, she's great.
Motion on the table.
Motion to approve.
What? Personnel Subcommittee.
Yes, I'd like to commend the chief on initiating the search for this position that we created in the Personnel Subcommittee, myself, Mr. Scullin, and Mr. Hogan, when we met and dissected this, again, created this position, the chief reached out and got a large number of applicants, which we broke down into a smaller number of applicants. And I want to emphasize that this position was transparent, 100% transparent in the way it was created and the way the interview process happened. There wasn't any behind the scenes, my best friends, sisters, neighbors, whatever. It was done by who's the best meets the best criteria by their resume. I was involved. The chief initiated it. He got a stack. He broke it down. Then I met with Mr. Finley and Diane for the interview process. I followed up with the chief on a regular basis as the personnel chairman, and the process was done as appropriately and as transparently as possible. And then there was no, if anyone wants to start any kind of crazy rumors that, whatever. But this was done the right way. So, and I think we have the best candidate we could find. We all had sheets of criteria and questions, and we met, interviewed. We had 10, and the 10, we broke it down to 3, and we ranked the top 3, and it didn't matter. The names I had, number 1 wasn't, and number 2, they're all mixed up, and you, the chairwoman, and chief met the final 3 and decided on Ms. Burbank as the top candidate. She was offered the job and accepted. And she's not going to be taking our health care benefits from us. She's going to be using her husband's health care benefits. She's going to be an at-will employee. What else did I say? Chief, what else did I forget? Also, she is the Manville tax collector already, so she knows visions. She knows all the tax systems. She's not going to skip town. She lives in Manville, across the bridge, so she can't hide when tax season comes around. So she already knows how to process, and she's been going to training with Diane and learning our system. And they're all happy and getting along down there. As I told Jim, I stopped by, but
Big happy family.
Yep. So I recommend, we voted, and 3-0 recommend passage. Thank you.
That was a good description of what happened. Thank you. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, just want to clarify something.
Oh, what
The
else you got?
chairman said
Commissioner Scullin.
that we're reminded from the solicitor that she is currently not taking benefits, but at any given point,
Oh, you're right.
she's entitled to them if
Yes,
she
sir.
wants them.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Which is fine, just don't say she's not taking them.
I didn't ruin your smile, did I? No?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, you're right.
Is there a motion on the table to...
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Champagne. Second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archibald. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All those in favor of accepting Resolution 2018-7, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Okay. Resolution 8,
Thank you very much.
amending the bylaws. We got 2 more. We're doing well here. Amending the bylaws to require 1 annual tax payment. Whereas the Cumberland Fire Committee desires to remove the quarterly payment option and require that all taxes are paid when due in 1 payment.
That was mine as well. So, that was mine as well.
That is correct.
So, I've done some research more into this. I spent some more time with Mr. Finley and with Diane, and right now we gain about $50,000 in interest with the current market rate. That money market account is a variable interest rate on the taxes we get as they're coming in quarterly. So when this board's only been in existence for 2 years, and you can't go back beyond 16 when the 4 groups came together to get a really good history of, the yearly versus the quarterly. And in talking to Mr. Finley, and the amount of interest we would gain is pretty hard to recognize or appreciate depending on the economy. Right now it's 0.9%. It was as high as 1.5%, but it can go as low as 0.7%. So it's hard to know on July 15th, July 18th, or 20th what that rate's going to be. Regardless, we also can't really tell what the public opinion is going to be in terms of, or knowledge of paying all at once versus paying quarterly. We've been doing quarterly for the 1 year or 2 years we've been in existence. Are they going to know when they get the one bill to pay all at once or to spread it out? Right now it's about 55% paying all at once versus 45% are doing quarterly. And I'd like to ask Mr. Finley if he can give me some advice on what we discussed in the office about this.
Well, the couple of problems that just come to mind, you had annual payments, then you went to quarterly payments for the past 2 years, and now there is a proposal before you to switch back to annual. I just see a lot of confusion, a lot of angry taxpayers because you're not consistent. Second of all, is that we have arranged with Vision to be one, right now, to be one of the first tax notices to be printed. And it is on a quarterly basis. If we change, we're going down to the bottom of the pack. And that's where you do not want to be. You want those bills out as soon as possible for your cash flow. So my belief is that I wouldn't want to see a single annual tax payment this year. If you want to take it up and let the residents know for next year or the year after, at least there will be enough notice to the taxpayers and the mortgage companies. The mortgage companies are all set for the quarterly payments. They've had them for the past 2 years. Now you're going to have to notify them on a short notice. I just foresee a lot of confusion, calls, a lot of time that has to be diverted from tax collections to answer these questions. I just don't think, at this point in time, I don't believe it's the right thing to do. My opinion.
So, okay, so in light of that, I'm going to withdraw the, recommend tabling it for either withdrawing, whether the solicitor can tell me how to go forward, withdrawing or tabling for 1 year,
Well,
or 6 months or a year or whatever.
I would just take it off completely, because
Just withdraw
we
it.
had a demand 2 years ago, and the people demanded. We had a full house. It was in the papers and everything, and there was state people involved saying if we didn't do it, they would do it. And Mr. Finley is right. Right now, we're fortunate that Diane has a good rapport with Visions, and so does Mr. Finley, and they put up to the top. I've had to deal in the years past of getting the tax bills late, and it made a big difference in the interest, the influx of money. If you're put in the bottom of the list, your tax bills are not going to go out till the end of June, beginning of July, and that's money that you've missed that could be in the bank. And I just don't think, on a shorter note, I sat back the other day, I got my water bill. My water bill is quarterly. And that's one of the things the town does. And that's one of the things that people brought up was quarterly fire taxes. Do I agree with it? I have my own opinion, but right now, what the residents want, they want quarterly payment. And if we have those who take the bill and stick it in the pile and forget about it at home, we just have to do due diligence to remind them that they owe us some money. Fortunately, the water department can go over to their house and shut the water off at 8 o'clock in the morning. We can't do that. We just have to be aggressive. And I can say in the past, it was always collected aggressively. And some people get mad because you're aggressive, but, you know, we have to pay our bills.
How much are it?
With that being said, I will support you in removing it, but I won't vote for it.
Yeah, I think I was a little naive with and he brought up some really good points with us being first in the queue. In visions, I was not aware of that. I should have done my research before I bought this. My intent, I think, was good, but the execution was where I failed. I just kind of Shaquille O'Neal foul shot and boom, missed it. So I'll withdraw the resolution. Is that how you do it, Kelly?
Yeah, unless there's a motion to approve. I mean, it's on the docket, but if nobody wants to make a motion, you can just move on.
It just drops. Let's move on.
If it passed, Paul,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be at the next meeting because they're going to be here with their stones.
Okay.
All right, moving along.
Would you carry that 6-shooter still on? I don't have that.
Okay, last resolution, number 9 for the evening. No, it's not, I lied. Resolution number 9, authorizing the Cumberland Fire District to issue a tax anticipation note. The note, I'm not reading all of it.
It's essentially to borrow $500,000.
Right. Oh, here we go. No, I'm just looking at this. All right. Okay. So, everybody can read. Kelly, do you want to explain? Solicitor, would you like to explain what we need to borrow, why we need to borrow it?
Sure, and I may need help from other staff. Beth is here as well as the chief and Dennis. I also handed out this cash flow deficit calculation that Beth prepared in conjunction with, I'm sure, Dennis and the bond counsel. So this, I talked to bond counsel today because I couldn't get Beth, but the estimated receipts and estimated expenditures, all of these line items, well, those 2 line items are really kind of estimates of historical receipts and expenditures. So with regard to our total budget of about 7.5 million, if you look down columns 2 and 3, that's about what we're going to receive in tax payments and what we're going to spend out of the budget. So you can see that in May 2018, or by the end of May 2018, you're going to have a deficit of $405,000. And that's where we're at. And so the chief asked me to contact, with obviously the authorization from the chair, contact the bond counsel that we had been talking to about Station 2, because this woman is the person that's done Cumberland, the unmerged Cumberland Fire District, so she's familiar, and she gave us a very good price, and this is an emergency. So this sheet shows what you need. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You're going to run out of money at the end of May 2018. So, you know, in my estimation, there's almost no choice. You have to borrow this money. You'll pay it probably in the first quarter of next year. You're going to have to really consider this hard in your next budget with regard to the interest and any fees that are going to be associated with this in your next budget. But, you know, these are the hard facts, is that you're going to run out of money. So we put 500,000 just to put a buffer. If you don't need the whole 500, you don't borrow the whole 500. But you need to authorize. We put that buffer of about 100,000 onto it just in case the 405 isn't quite right. And if there's anything that either Beth or Chief or Dennis want to add, but that's the way I understand this issue.
Am I correct to say that most communities have to go for TANs every year? This isn't something unusual.
I am not familiar with every other community, so I really can't comment on that, but I'm familiar with TANs.
Right. Mr. Finley, am I correct to say that the majority of, what I've read, that the majority of the communities, cities and towns do have to take out TANs for a short period of time, especially with our tax cycle, not us, but the town of Cumberland.
Some communities in the state of Rhode Island do have to take out TANs, along with some of the fire districts or water districts at certain time frames because of cash flow, and it could depend on year end, it could depend on the tax collection time periods involved. There are many reasons why some communities have to go out for TANs, and it's commonplace.
It's common practice. It's not something that's unusual. It's something that's...
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not.
Can someone explain why the town of Cumberland has $4 million in whatever that account is they have, and they take out TANs every year? Kelly?
No, I can't explain that. I mean, they're unsynchronized, so they, my understanding is they run out of money, and probably Commissioner Sculling can also weigh in on this as he was a town council member, but because of the unsynchronization of the town of Cumberland's schedule, they run out of money, but then they end up collecting a lot, and we end up with a very large fund balance every year. It's a little different than what we're experiencing here.
But they have... Don't they have a reserve, they have a huge reserve account?
Again, I am not a finance person,
Yeah.
but what I just told you is my
Yeah.
understanding,
Right.
and that's the way I understand it.
Commissioner Scullin, do you have any insight into that?
Well, the town just does it as short term, because all that money may be tied up in other avenues at the moment, so there's not actually cash available at when they need it, like in April, May. It may be, again, available, that it's tied up in CDs, whatever, but
Okay.
The same things that pertain to us. It's just a short period of time until the taxes go out and the money comes in.
Right.
So one question I do have, are we limited by state law on how much we can go for?
So, Mr. Scullin, you are limited to $781,464. Again, this is from bond counsel, who understands this better than I do. And the calculation is through this cash flow deficit calculation sheet. So yes, we are limited. You could borrow up to $781,000, but that's not what the
My
chief...
question is on state legislation that created a district.
Yeah, well, that's a little bit different. That's if you were to borrow, on the Station 2, you were limited to 3.5 million, because you can only borrow up to half of your annual budget. That's a different thing than TANs.
Were TANs mentioned in the legislation? I don't
No,
know.
it just says that we can it says we can borrow in anticipation of tax collection. So we are authorized to do this.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Champagne. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archibald. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of authorizing the Cumberland Fire District to issue tax anticipation notes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Last resolution, number 10, authorizing the chairperson to engage Scheckman Halpern Salvage LLP as a bond counsel for TAN.
You want me to say anything?
Commissioner,
Make a
Solicitor.
motion to approve.
Oh,
All right, motion to approve by Commissioner Champagne. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Archibald. Any discussion?
The only thing I would say is, to ask the chief, Chief, can we use that account that you had frozen for I don't want to say, that was going to be used for the actuarial study, for that $4,000? Which account can we borrow this from that you had frozen?
We can use that account, we could use contingency, we could use capital improvements.
And if I may, you can also budget this expense in next year's budget.
Sure.
That's up to you.
That's right. Correct. There won't be any expense until next year's budget.
Plus, couldn't it be just rolled over? Just roll it into the bond?
That's a question for Dennis. That's a
Can
question
you
for
roll it into
Dennis.
the bond?
You can roll it into the bond, can you not? The
Can you roll the
$4,000
$4,000 into the TAN?
Into the TAN.
I cannot see why not. Right. Sure.
Okay, we'll have a final figure of what we need to submit the TAN for, and then add an additional $4,000 to cover the cost for us, and then, there you go. Great, thank you. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair, a couple of questions.
Commissioner Scullin?
Did we get any indication of what kind of interest rates they...
We did not. This is an emergency. I literally am going to be calling First Southwest tomorrow morning, if you approve this, to get the very best rate. Bond counsel has suggested that we try to go to a bank that we deal with, which I understand from talking to Diane that Freedom Bank was willing to help us when we thought we might need it a year ago. But First Southwest, if we can't get it from Freedom, we'll be sending out like a, kind of a request for proposals to many, many banks to get the very best rate. I can't give you that information, but as it says in the resolution, it's an emergency. We will get the very best rate we can. And it's a short-term, it is a short-term loan. It'll be paid hopefully within the first quarter of next year, so you're going to be paying interest. But we will make sure that it's the least amount of interest that we can possibly pay. That's all I can tell you.
That was my second question, is this emergency provision that we're using. Why is this an emergency when we've been talking about it for months?
I haven't been. I don't know if anybody else
I
has.
think we've been talking about a shortage since last July.
Yeah, no, it was a projected shortage last July. At the rate let me finish, please. At the rate we're going at, the chief has said that his projections were going to show that they were going to probably not make it to the end of the year. He did say that there was going to be a possible shortage. Now we know for sure because they've done the work. So it's not like it was put aside. We knew it.
Yeah.
We've talked about it, but it was projected to be a shortage. Maybe not. We didn't know back in July.
No, back in July, we knew we were already $400,000 over budget from the previous year.
Right, but you're talking,
So it's not like this shouldn't have been an emergency provision.
well, we talked about it
This
last month.
should have been on the agenda back in January to get this ball rolling.
May I, Madam Chair? Sure. I will just tell you from my perspective, I consider this an emergency because when we had a meeting about 6 weeks ago, the chief told us he was going to freeze expenses and it was going to cover basically the deficit. That was my understanding. So to me, I did not know anything about the TANs until 2 weeks ago.
Mr. Finley, do you want to give some input on how you came about this being urgent,
Well,
emergent?
when I was looking over the available funds that we had left till the end of the year with Beth and Diane, and there was only a certain amount of money left, and Beth projected our expenditures at that point in time, and it became very evident that we would need TANs, and that's when I started the process of a request that eventually came before you this evening. So it's one of those that I know it's It's late in the fiscal year, but our projections take us through at least probably to, I can't tell you because it all depends what the collections come in at in April. So we may be okay in April, but this was done, this projection was done by an independent party using our numbers, and they came up with a shortfall in May. In other words, what she's saying is that we are going to need assistance for at least the month of June. And I agree that we should pay this back, whatever the amount may be. It can be up to 700,000+, but we will only ask for what we need at this point in time, and then pay the interest immediately when available, which hopefully and should be in July.
Correct. Okay.
I just want to be clear, because is this authorizing, I'm sorry, thanks. I just want to make sure, for the benefit of the committee, you're requesting that they authorize up to 500,000, not up to 781,000. That's what the resolution says.
Yes.
All right, I just want to be clear.
That's correct, up to 500,000. The
Yep.
projection is 400. Obviously, being conservative, I want a little cushion in there.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I'm going to reluctantly support this. I don't really believe this emergency provision should have been used, but we have no choice.
Okay, thank you.
And may I just want to also be clear, the emergency provision relates to hiring the attorney. If I had more time, I would have maybe talked to a lot more attorneys, but I went to the person that I thought would be the lowest cost to you. That's the only trigger for the emergency, is that the chair authorized me to hire her to prepare this one resolution.
No, I understand.
Okay, I just want to make sure that it's not about the TANs,
No.
it's about hiring her. Okay.
All right, great. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go to vote. All in favor of accepting resolution number 10 for 2018, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. All right, public input. Anyone? None. Is there a motion on the table to wrap up this meeting to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Scullin, seconded by Commissioner Hogan. All in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Passes 7-0.